This is Papa Bruin, a.k.a. Joe Gill, or the other way around, whatever works. Welcome to the Big Bad Bruins Bantah Podcast. This is number 10, and we are being joined by Shannon Walsh. I just want to bring up her. Let's get that down. Again, I am suffering from the side effects of the Pfizer vaccine, the first dose, so I feel like I got hit with a boat oar, or I basically feel like I'm drunk without drinking, or the heartburn of the calories. So that's what's going on now. So Shannon is a childhood Bruins fan and currently living in D.C., who loves all things hockey, NHL and the NWHL, and congratulations to the Boston Pride again. And she's also co-host of the Slapshot Sweethearts Podcast, and that's how I met her. She asked me to join her show once, which is really cool. Shannon, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, anytime we have a Brad Marchand fan and a Bruins fan, of course, going to have you on. So, yeah, for sure. So, I'm just going to get right into it. It's going to go around and try to get your podcast up there as well. The week has been, let's see, actually, I haven't been on since probably mid-March, so with life going on, but thank God the Bruins won a freaking game. I don't know about you, but I was getting so here's the thing, Shannon, with a lot of, some of the people on my Big Bad Bruins Nation community feel that you cannot criticize the team when they're playing shitty, which I think that's your God-given right as a fan to criticize them when they're not doing well. So after the Tahoe game and prior to the Pittsburgh Penguins game, they've been really a red-hot mess. Very inconsistent. They're in a malaise. There's games. I don't know about you, but do you feel like some of the games prior to the 7-5 win against the Penguins have been like unwatchable?
Yeah. I mean, like, they don't look good. They're really inconsistent. The youth is showing, and I'm worried as, a Celtics fan too, obviously, watching how they absolutely shit the bed at the trade deadline. Now I have like PTSD, and I'm worried that Don Sweeney and Bruce Cassidy aren't going to do anything, and they're just going to, lay an egg going into April 12th.
I don't think they are either.
So, like, it's just going to be, I mean, the good news is, like I said, their youth is showing, but that means that there's hope for the future, except that's it, they do something with that youth and they develop it correctly, and they've got a ton of them.
Oh, right. I mean, if we're looking at, I got the standings up here right now, and again, they have games in hand. Philly is a red hot mess. I mean, Jesus, minus 23. Holy shit. Wow. In their last 10, they're kind of definitely on life support. The Bruins are mediocre at best. Caps are on fire. Islanders actually come back, are 6-4. So they, but they've been playing very well. And at the beginning of the year, I was like, how can we be losing to the Islanders and the Devils? And realized the Islanders are fucking good. Devils, not so much. That we'll get into that in a minute. But, the team that scares me in this division right now is the Rangers.
I know. The Rangers are we just recorded with a former Ranger, and I was like, he was like, I have no problem. I think we're going to make the playoffs. And I was like, we're screwed. Like, the Rangers did something with their young talent, and they've moved it around enough. Sure. We're just sitting here like line tinkering with a million fourth liners.
Right. And who are we talking to from the Rangers?
We had Ron Duguay on.
Oh, wow. Oh, he's he like a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer and an Emmy winner from his time covering the Rangers on MSG.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was like, wow, Ron Duguay, that's pretty damn good. That's awesome. Yeah, on the, you had him on the Slapshot Sweethearts Podcast.
Yeah, we recorded with him just before. Well, I guess the Rangers have blown up the Flyers a couple times, but it's just
the Flyers.
But before the most recent blowout they had.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's awesome. You get some good guests over there. But like I said, everyone's like, oh, don't worry about the Rangers. No, I'm worried about the Rangers. I mean, they're coming around. So the Rangers were able to like part ways with like Lundqvist and stuff like that. And let's hope he gets better. But they have the youth movement. They struggled for a while, and I mean, they're turning it on now. This is when to turn it on. So I know the Bruins have 3 games in hand on them, but the problem is everybody's like, as I said, people are like, oh, you're so negative. No, I'm like talking reality. If they don't look good, I'm going to say they don't look good.
Like you said, they've got 4 games in hand, and that's like my fallback point right now. Like, they've got 4 games, but what are they going to do with those 4 games?
Exactly, Shannon Walsh. Thank you very much. It doesn't matter how many games in hand if you don't win them. It does not
they
matter.
lose them, and then I'm like, well, that's one less game they have in hand. That's another one. Like they.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to say bye to the people on Facebook Live. Goodbye. You guys have to tune into the YouTube or the Anchor podcast. We'll see you later. Have a good Monday morning. Yeah. So again, the game against the second game, because the first game against the Penguins this past week was nauseating beyond belief, like to the point where my friend, who's a very diehard Bruins fan of many years, he said, I can't watch them anymore. I literally cannot sit there and watch it. And they are unwatchable to the point where I was like shutting off the volume and putting on music, because at least music brings me joy. So I put some heavy metal on.
They just beat Pittsburgh, right? But they still let up 5 goals.
They did.
Like, yeah, they won. I'm going to take 2 points wherever I can find them. But like, they let in 5 goals. Like, that is not to be ignored.
And every time they got, you thought they were pulling away, they let up a goal. So
like Halak letting in that 5-hole goal from a freaking pass to end play so they could change lines at the end.
So talk about the goaltending while we're here. We might as well talk about to this point about the goaltending. I'm going to jump into Sidney Crosby. My God, we'll talk about that in a second. But the goaltending, so Darth Vladar he's been good. I think he's been pretty good in his time here so far. Again, 3 games into it, he's shown some life. Halak, I just think the tread is showing on the tires quite a bit, because he doesn't play this many games. This is not why we signed him. We signed him to kind of complement Tuukka. And Tuukka, I don't know if you've heard anything. I don't know when the hell he's coming back. Have you heard anything?
If he ever comes back, I don't know.
Right. So who knows? And then Carlo got hurt again. So the injuries have been mounting up. And, Halak, when the Bruins, if they score, they can't goaltend to play D. If they play D, they have good goaltending, they can't score. It's just, I don't know what to expect from this team anymore. But again, they did win. They just scored 7 goals, which I think is their output of the 3 prior games, or close to it. So hopefully we didn't waste it all. But so that 7-5 game, you had, the lines were split up. Pastrnak went to the second line with Krejci, which was great because he got kick-started. Marchand, your boy Marchand, and Bergeron looked good. They got kick-started because prior to that game, the only guy that showed any life and showed any balls, grit was Marchand, especially that game against New Jersey where he willed them back to win. Got in a fight, scored a big goal. I mean, he was the reason they won. I personally think something's wrong with Bergie.
I was going to say, I'm wildly unimpressed by Bergeron this season. I mean, I know people are harping on Pastrnak, but Bergeron doesn't look good at all. He doesn't look good. He hasn't, there's no life in that locker room right now since he's taken over as captain. Not that he's by any means a bad leader, but I have no idea, the will is not there right now.
Marcy's definitely the more like, I'll go beat someone up. I'll be chirping the hell out of people and all that kind of leader. Bergie's definitely the quiet guy. I don't care what people say. You miss Char in that room. Yeah. There's no 100%. Doubt about it. And I think, again, I know it's revisionist history, but I think you miss him on the blue line. Because right now, if you look at this team, he's still your probably second best defenseman if he was here behind McAvoy. I mean, because Carlo isn't here. Miller's not here.
I mean, look what he's doing in Washington. He looks good. They're playing him way more than he expected to.
Yeah, the thing is, what I was confused about was the whole, why would you pick Miller over Chara? Because you know what you get with Chara. You know a guy that works out like a crazy person. And Miller was just, I like Kevin Miller, don't get me wrong. Any guy that spells his name with an A instead of an I is a cool guy by me. But he's just too many questions, man. And then look at him now. Who knows when he's come back? And knees to a hockey player, pretty important. So if your knees aren't good, I don't know. But I have to.
I was talking on Black and Gold Weekly with John about how, Kevin Miller and Brad Marchand are best friends. So, I think that played a role in not necessarily choosing him over Chara, but, why they're so intent on making it work with him from like a roster standpoint, and a locker room standpoint. I think that's relatively, you see it in the NBA all the time when GMs won't get rid of players because, they're friends, or it'll, screw with the dynamic in the locker room.
Well, you start here in New England with Tom Brady and Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And you're like,
exactly.
Whoa, well, that guy is a complete scumbag, but let's bring him in. And then Marchand. All right. So I got to ask you this question now that you brought it. Marchand and Miller. Have you watched the show?
No, I haven't watched. I mean, I am not a hunting gal, so it's not totally my speed. But I've seen YouTube clips of it, and it seems pretty funny.
Well, so I was watching in the background. My son just happened to walk in while they're, using every piece of armament and gun that they can find. And I'm like, oh God, this isn't probably what I want him to walk into. But Shannon, you don't have kids or married yet, right?
No.
Okay. So so schools change quite a bit. So when you have kids, the stuff they read in school is going to probably be even more, because just say I want to shield my kid from guns and all this stuff. And then I was sitting with him and doing some homeschooling, and we're talking about, he's watching a video of a book about, the Taliban and terrorism. And I'm like, there's a young woman there, a young girl that, was getting shut down by the Taliban, not to talk, not to speak. And she was a big, great story, right? Inspirational story and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is kind of some heavy shit for a 7-year-old. I don't know. I mean, I asked my son, do you know where Pakistan is? And he's like, no. I'm like, I don't think he should be learning this story yet if he doesn't know what the hell the country is. So this is just the stuff with, with kids and stuff, when I'm trying to shield my son from seeing guns and stuff. And then he's learning that about bombs and terrorism and the Taliban. I was like, whoa, all right, a little heavy for me, but sorry for the tangent. I was just like, I don't know. School's different now. A lot different.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So let's get into Sidney Crosby. I was doing a Facebook Live during that Bruins game, like at the last few minutes of the game. And just like saying, you guys can't do this. You cannot lose this game. You can't fuck us again. You can't do this to us. Because now we're like in it again. Like we're like, you basically just gave us the paddles to our chest and we're back in it because you guys showed some life and gave us shit. That dive. Okay. It wasn't a dive. It was a flop because Bergeron did hit him in the face. That is true. He did hit him in the face. But I'm like, that should have been matching penalties.
I mean, I was just so impressed at his ability to fling himself.
Like he got hit with a howitzer. Ridiculous. Right. So
I mean, maybe it's just a bad angle. I don't know. But that was like, I was impressed. But, flopping's becoming more popular in the league than it has been in the past, for worse, not a good way. I
haven't seen so many, like, I guess, obscene ones lately. And that was like beyond obscene. That was, but I don't know if you've seen the picture, the screen grab from the game. But if you going down the line, that all three forwards of the Penguins all went to their faces that they got hit. Now, Krejci did high stick another guy on the same line. And I don't know if Marchand clipped anybody either, but the reaction was just Crosby. So I don't know if you saw, but I started doing these Do the Crosby of videos about, I did one video of him, like, I was pretending it was him. So I took my Bruins jersey and I did inside out because someone's like, why did you do it inside? I go, I can't show the Bruins emblem pretending I'm that whiny bitch. I couldn't do that. So I'm like grabbing a cup of coffee, then you see the stick coming and just hit him, and I had the water go over my face and everything. Like him on the, on the throne reading a book and hit in the face again on a Zoom call. I can't fucking stand that guy. I really can't, because Ovechkin, he kind of does his shitty kind of questionable hits, but he's not a whiner. I don't know if Connor McDavid, I don't watch enough of Connor McDavid. I know he did give a guy a forearm shiver recently, but I don't think he's one of those guys. I mean, what do you think about Crosby? We all know who he is as a player, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Let's be honest. But how about as a competitor, as a good sport? What do you think his game is there?
I mean, all three of those players you just mentioned are completely different, types of athletes. And we actually, one of the podcasts, one of our sibling hockey podcasts at Belly Up, just had Brandon Dubinsky on.
He did? Oh, yeah, he's ripped him. I love it.
So that quote was from their podcast about him saying, fuck Sid, like, I'm going Ovi all day. But I was talking to somebody on Twitter about it, and Ovi is, I don't think he's a better player, but he's got zero leadership skills. Like, he is like, I'm going to just rifle the puck at the net, which, at some point you're going to break a goal record if you're just going to keep rifling.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. He's got he's kind of like Pastrnak too, right? Defensively, he's not that great. And he just
he does. I mean, he doesn't get back ever.
Right. So and we'll talk about Pastrnak in a minute about his defensive skills, because it's been lacking, to say the least. But yeah, I can't deal with you could have went up to your mouth and grabbed your face, okay? But to get shot like that, like literally like a fish, like on the line, that's exactly what he looked like. It was embarrassing. And he got skewered. I saw Yahoo Sports did an article about him. He's got like called out on it. I mean, it's like if you're one of the stars of the game, you can't do that shit.
Right.
I mean, at all. I mean, Marchand used to do the cheap shots and stuff, but he's taken that out of his game, right? Because he's more of a leader now. And he's a star of the game as much as what the other 30 teams in the league don't want to admit. He's a star, people. Sorry, deal with it. You know what I mean? To see where he's come from 2009, 10, when he's got in the league to now is just unbelievable. I mean, every time he touches the puck, you think he's going to score. I mean, that's who he is. And he's just, again, he willed that team to beat the Devils the other night.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about their just playing down the competition? Because it's not just been this year. It's been a trend, and it's maddening to lose. Like the Devils have won, let's see, how many games they've won? 13. And how many times they beat the Bruins? 5? I believe 4 or 5 times.
Probably. Yeah, I mean.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
They're playing. I don't even know. I thought it was they were playing down to their opponents, but I think it's just a lack of consistency all around because they look fantastic in one game against the Capitals, and then they look horrible the next game against the same team and same opponent. You've played them 6 times already. You should know what you're expecting.
I know. You're right. They have that intimacy. They know each other so much now. Like you get it now, don't you? You get what they're doing to you yet? So, I mean, does that fall on Bruce Cassidy see, the whole thing's been out in the ether there that are they tuning him out? And I got to the point where I like Butch. I like Butch a lot, but are they? Because at some points, the effort is just not there. And when you start not having effort, that is a problem from the team, from the players up. If they're not putting in effort, if you lose 5-4 to Washington, I'm not going to kill you on that. Washington's a really good team, and you competed. I just can't deal with the no compete. Just blind passes, turnovers, shots going through the 5-hole from 55 feet away. I mean, do you feel that might be a problem?
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of it, I did a preview for Lake Tahoe. I was mixing it up with Lake Placid.
Tahoe.
Yeah, well, Placid was where the NWHL was.
Oh, sorry.
Mixed it up. But I did a preview for the outside game. And my biggest thing was, all these players are so young. It is so easy to get distracted in that kind of environment. And by, God's grace, they didn't, and they, won that game and blew out the Flyers. But it's the same their lack of ability to just focus on what they need to do and get distracted and get in their own heads is their biggest issue. Like, I don't think that there's a lack of talent beyond maybe on goaltending, but their ability to take what they need to do and literally just execute and not, get distracted, get in their own heads, get upset with themselves, lose ice chemistry is huge right now.
Oh, right. I mean, I don't know about what you see as well, but all I see is like none of the passes are crisp. It's always in their skates. The puck is always bouncing. It's just if they do make passes, they make 15 of them. It's like the chemistry is. I don't see it. We saw it finally offensively against Pittsburgh this last game, but it was been lost. Like going through the raw, you look at the fourth line, you're like, it's an AHL line. That's exactly, you got Bleed out there. You got Stunica, who's, I don't know, man. He showed some flashes, but I haven't heard anything from him. Bjork has been honestly one of your most consistent players, which that should scare you if he's one of your most consistent players. Charlie Coyle has, I don't know. It was good to see Corrali back because Corrali always kind of brings some energy. So it was good to see him back. But DeBrusk is I think he's still on COVID. I think he must have had it. That's my guess.
I mean, he wasn't doing anything when he wasn't on COVID.
Right. Exactly. So his year has just been a lost year. There's been no doubt about it. It's just been a shit show of a year for him. I think he's probably out the door soon, the trade deadline. So segue in the trade deadline. I hope you agree with me here. And the Taylor Hall talk, can we just stop that? What do you think about the Taylor Hall chatter?
I mean, there's two sides of it, right? Like I said before, I was worried that they weren't going to make a move. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to do what they're notorious for doing and just, trading for small, lower line, random people that don't do that much.
Right.
They always find a way to make some middle ground trade that no one cares about. That's not actually going to bolster their roster. It's just like,
well, they get the people from it's like the island of the misfit toys. Let's just get let's get the teddy bear with the eye hanging out, or the Matchbox guy that has 3 wheels. Let's again. They just tend to get I went over like Don Sweeney's kind of tenure here, and the only impactful trade deadline thing he's done was Coyle and Johansson when he went to the Cup. Rick Nash, I don't know. Can we damn him for that one? Because if Rick Nash didn't get hurt, he probably would have brought it. But it just seems it's not only just maybe some bad moves. It's also they get bad fucking luck. It just seems this team just can't win besides 11 cannot just get over the hump. Like in the Cup final in the history, they're 6-14. That's bad. That's really bad. You've been there that many times. You only won 6. The 2019 Cup, even after I watched the 2011 special, made it hurt worse. It made it hurt so much worse losing that one. And it just seems like they can't get one more guy or get the right guy. Or like I'm reading about Palmieri. Tomato. I'd like him because he's been killing us because he has 8 goals. I think he scored 4 or 5 versus us. But someone made a great point. He's only scored 3 versus the other teams in the league in the division. So good point. And then I read Wood is maybe up on the block from New Jersey, which I would definitely entertain him for sure. But Taylor Hall is just, to me, I heard he's a pill in the locker room. How many goals does he have for the Sabres now? 3? And he makes $8 million? No thanks. And if the Tyler Seguin, Taylor Hall argument hasn't been answered, it's been answered the last, I would say, year or so, 2 years, because he has done nothing since his MVP year. I mean, his MVP year. What do you think Taylor Hall is just, I don't know, too hyped now, or he's just in a bad situation, or do you think there's any hope for him?
No, I think he's in a bad situation. I mean, I think he's a little bit overhyped. But I think there's probably still, the comparison I keep making is he's like like people in their 20s that go from company to company like 7 times and their resume doesn't look that good because it's just, he's spending like a year in each team. And so it's hard for you to like, make an impact and really make a name for yourself. I forgot he went to Arizona.
Me too. He's on his 14. He's on his 14 now, right? He's been
until someone brought it up. Yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, the Devils, Arizona, the Sabres, none of those are good. Like none of those are good for him.
Middling, crappy team. And even when he was in Edmonton, I don't think they made the playoffs at all, or they did once maybe or twice. No. They weren't. The Edmonton Oilers are the land of number 1 picks that go nowhere. I mean, besides McDavid. But anyway, I want to stay as far away from him as possible. I think he's a complete pill. I've read nothing but bad things about him in the locker room. They don't need him. I mean, really, I don't think he's much of an upgrade unless he came here and just forgive me. Cause again, my COVID vaccine fog, he's a center, correct? Taylor Hall is your winger. Yeah. So he wouldn't, we got our center positions are not bad. I mean, you got Berge and Krejci and Coyle and Corrali, right? Or whoever's in the middle down on the 4th line at that time. So I don't think we need many centers. We need some wings that can score. The same thing we've said since Iginla left in 14-15 for Krejci. What's up with Krejci's man bun thing, by the way?
I hate it.
Like, is he
Krejci's the kind of guy, since you brought him up, I have no problem if they move him at the deadline for a good return. If it's picks, I don't want picks, but like if they were able to get some sort of like get your crap together roster move, I have no problem with it being Krejci.
Yeah, because honestly, he does show up he's one of the biggest playoff performers in Bruins history for sure. When they went in 11 and 13, he was the man. He was just unbelievable. And even 19, I think he had a good run too. But it's during regular season, someone made a good point. It's like how much more are you going to have to accommodate this guy, or try to accommodate this guy? Or again, he's got 1 or 2 goals this year. No excuse for that. Hopefully him and Pasta. Hopefully Cassidy, please keep them together, please. You scored goals, keep them together. Don't go switch it up again, because that's what he does. But again,
line tinkering kills me.
Oh, well, he tinkers per shift. It's not like per period or per game. It's per shift. You got to, like someone said in sports radio, you got to let it ride a little bit.
Well, I was going to say that's part of the reason they can't get any freaking chemistry going is because they don't play long enough on the same line to establish any.
I know, exactly. So, and one other thing about Bruce that drives me bananas is that he never calls timeouts. He never, ever calls timeouts. Like say the Bruins, like against Pittsburgh, they scored a couple goals. They're up 2-1. Before you know it, Pittsburgh 3-2. I'm like, perfect time to call a timeout. Guys, calm down. We got early in the third. He doesn't do it. I just don't understand. And his body English, even though he's wearing a mask, his facial.
He never wears his mask. He wears it down here.
They all do. I mean, I think most of them do. Every time they talk, I saw the guy from Buffalo. I seen Lindy Ruff do. They're all like this. So
I said the other day, I was like, I'm sure it's loud, but if the NHL fined the same way that the NFL was finding,
everybody get fined. Everybody.
Cassie would be broke, absolutely broke.
They all do. Yeah, I know. It's great. The NFL was super stringent on that, right? NHL not so much, but the NHL's now, Vancouver's got a huge COVID issue right now. I heard reading that NHL's thinking about what they could do if they don't play again, because their whole team, it's 17 players. I mean, it's the whole team now. And it was not funny, but I remember the Canadian, whatever they call the Northern Candy Cane Division, whatever we call them, was priding itself because none of them got COVID. The Canadian teams, none of them did, but now Montreal's had it. Vancouver's had it. I don't know if Calgary did too or not, but I know they played Montreal at one point. But
Dallas Khudobin went back on the COVID list. Second time on there, which Dallas can't afford to have any scheduled delays. They already have their schedule's just about as tight as Boston's.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the season they had a big outbreak as well. So it's like, what are these guys doing? Are you guys like, they talk about, well, we don't want to bring everything into a bubble. I go, do it again, because you know what? You had no cases. Evidently, some of these guys. Go ahead.
I never agreed at the beginning of the season on like why they were like, we can't ask players to do the entire season in a bubble that's like 6 months away from their families, blah, blah, blah. Part of me is like, they're getting paid millions of dollars. You could ask them to do that. But the other part of me now is like, there's less than 20 games left. Like, but you can put them in a bubble now.
Right. And then if they make the playoffs, you get another 16 games or 4 weeks or whatever, right? So, no, I completely agree, because I don't, like, you saw what happened to the Russian players in Washington. Some of these guys, the younger guys, I get it. It's not, again, I try to preface it. This isn't easy for anyone at all, anybody, any age, any gender, ethnic group, profession. Anyway, this thing sucks for everybody. But again, if you get paid millions of dollars, they tell you, don't go out your fucking room. Don't go out your fucking room. Like, you don't need to get Tim Hortons. They'll rent your goddamn room for you. Like, just try to stay healthy. Because again, you're going back to your family too, right? They're not going in hotel rooms when they get off the rink, even at home. They're going back home. So just do the right thing. I mean, I don't know where you stand or anyone stands with that. I don't like making it political or anything, but we're getting close to end this fucking thing. Can we just do the right thing? Can we just get through this shit?
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point that they're traveling still. And I mean, that's part of the reason they did the divisions, right? To like limit travel. Right. But they're going home to their families. You have like, anytime, X person's wife is exposed, like, yeah. I mean, I find it really interesting that hasn't been a bigger factor, but they also might just not be tracking it.
Right. Well, I hope. Yeah. Well, they absolutely have to do that. Right. With it, like you said, if one of the players gets it, and his wife and girlfriend or whatever, and then as we know, it all cascades out. Right. It's like a domino effect. So let's hope we get through this season. Again, it's been a fucked up season, but talking about the alignment quickly because of COVID, I want to get your opinion on this. I absolutely love this division. I love the alignment. I just think like Philly and New York, both teams, more of the Rangers probably than the Islanders, and then the Capitals are all teams that like we had rivalries at one time or another back in the day, whatever. I love seeing these teams more. I think it's more, this division is like a rock'em sock'em black and blue division. Whereas let's not even talk, the Canadian division is just, it's like, it's puppy shit and ice cream up there. Let's be honest, that's soft.
Well, it's interesting because we did a live stream for one of the Canadian games, and we had every period we have a different like podcast on, which
sure
because you hopped on for a Bruins one.
Correct.
And so we had the Jets and the Leafs, and we had folks on from both of those, and they were saying how incredible this division is for Canadian fans because it's really ignited a lot of rivalries that didn't exist prior.
Right.
They don't give two shits about like American hockey. So they're just like living it up in, every time Toronto plays Edmonton, blah, blah, blah. So they're like really enjoying it. And they were like, we want to keep it that way. So it's interesting that you say you'd want to keep the divisions the way they are right now.
Yeah. As we up on the screen here for the people watching on the YouTube, you see this is, but the thing is, the travel for the Scotia North Division is not really good. And Montreal has to go
normal. They're going, time zones and all that.
Well, think about even more because Montreal wasn't going to Vancouver 6 times a year, 7 times a year, 8 times a year. So that's a lot more travel for some of those teams, like the Torontos and Montreals going from coast to coast. But going back to the Bruins division here, I just we'll go through all because I know you talk to people from all different blogs and teams and all that, so get your perspective. Again, I just like this division. Buffalo's Buffalo, but shit, Buffalo gave the Bruins a fucking hard time. So I guess they're not as bad as we think, or we're not as good as we think. I just love because I think Philly is like a natural rivalry of Boston, period. And so is New York and Pittsburgh. I've always hated Pittsburgh, those flightless birds, because the number one, they try to steal our colors. I'm reading a book now, talks about the history of all the teams, the uniforms, the names. And back in the 1980, I think it was, Pittsburgh put in to get the black and gold colors. And the Bruins tried to block it. And Ziegler, piece of shit he was, overruled them, even though the original 6 team, they were originally, as we all know, brown and gold at the back because it was the same color as the owner's grocery store. But the ironic part about it, which I fucking found hilarious, is that the Penguins ordered the actual plain jerseys from the Bruins Pro Shop to get those colors. But again, I never liked them. I never liked Crosby. I never liked Malkin. The Mario Lemieux, Mario's a talent, was great, but he's a whiny bitch too back in the day and all that stuff. And they beat us like when we had a great team in the early 90s. So I never liked them. The Islanders have become in a rivalry because we can't beat them.
I can't stand the Islanders. They drive me insane. I mean,
go ahead.
Beyond the fact that they're really good, like they're all like line balls. I hate all of them.
Oh, who do you hate? Like Klatterbuck and stuff like that? Or
well, yeah, and I don't like Varlamov at all. But Sorokin looked really good, so Varlamov's not even playing as much as he was.
I know it's crazy, but like I said, if I could keep this division, I would. Everybody's like, well, we can't play Montreal anymore. That rivalry's been gone for a while. Let's be honest. It hasn't really been a big rivalry. Toronto, I get that part of it because I think it's more of a rivalry than Montreal is, but considering we still always beat them too in the playoffs, is that rivalry now? I would have to say, if you can look on your screen here, this is the surprise of the year. This is unbelievable. The Florida Panthers. Holy shit. It. Well, Quenneville is a great coach. Let's be honest. What he's did with the Blackhawks. I'm loving this too. I'm loving seeing Tampa, Carolina, Nashville. I want Chicago to get in because I'm original 6 guy. And I always ask this question. I'll ask you this question too. If the Bruins did not exist, I'd be a Blackhawks fan because just original 6, blue collar city. I've been to Chicago Bruins games. They treat it with respect, everything like that. So as we'll get back to it in a second, but what team would you root for if the Bruins did not exist?
If the Bruins didn't exist, I do like the Flyers, even though they're a rival. I like Florida a lot, actually. I just got their white jersey.
Did you?
And I got a Blackhawks jersey too, actually.
How many jerseys do you own? How many jerseys?
5 or 6. 3. Most of them are Bruins jerseys, though.
Okay, yeah, I got like 6 Bruins ones, yeah.
And I would live in DC, so like it's easy to say the Capitals, but I like rooting for some of the Washington teams. I can't stand the National, but like I've just never felt like I feel like emotionally bound to the Washington football team. I have never felt like emotionally bound to the Capitals. Even when they won the Stanley Cup, I was like, all right, like cool.
I don't know. Again, because they're like a district, they're not even in the state. They're like a district, and Virginia fans and Maryland fans. It's like a regional team, I guess, right? But again, I'm loving Florida right now. I'm loving it. Like Tampa's got some competition in this division. Like again, if you stuck Tampa in the Bruins division, I think Tampa's record's not as good, to be honest with you. Because I like I said, love that Florida's doing so well. I want them to crush Tampa. No, I think we all do. I don't know about you, but even when I see that, the new Amsterdam vodka commercials, I think that's what it's called. When you see those stupid Tampa fans on the beach, it repulses me every time. And then you get the Honda West division here, and Colorado. Again, I don't think this is any big surprise that they're this good, but I'm kind of surprised about Arizona. Without Taylor Hall, they're in the playoff hunt. St. Louis, Ever since they beat the Bruins, they've been psychologically damaged. They haven't. They
weren't even. That stupid Stanley Cup drives me insane because
they weren't that good.
The Blues weren't even good. They were like at the bottom of their division halfway through the season, and good for them for scraping their way into the playoffs. And then the Bruins can't freaking win a Game 7. Like,
it was the worst thing about it too was that they had the Red Seas part because all the big teams got eliminated. Tampa got eliminated by the Blue Jackets. Caps got eliminated, so they had like the red carpet rolled out for them.
I went into Game 7. I was at a Boston bar near here, and I just like, first of all, it was raining, so I was getting poured on watching this horrible game. But I was like, are they kidding me right now? Like, this is so. I was like, we're coasting. Like, this is no problem. And then they freaking do that. Like that game was unfortunately over in the first period. You knew it. Yeah.
You just felt. I knew it because I just knew this team, and I just knew it was over. Like I felt way worse about 19 than 13 because the Blackhawks were a fucking wagon, where St. Louis was not by any stretch of imagination. Remember that where the Bruins beat them 7-2 in one of those games in that series? They crushed them. So again, it was a matter of the Bruins are just not a big game team. Beside 11, they're not. They're not. They're just not. And people don't make fun of my team. Oh, you know what? Stop crying. I can't say those people. Oh, you're so negative. Oh, I know I'm calling it like it is. Now I was super positive because they showed an effort.
I always have the debate on because my boyfriend is a Flyers fan and an Eagles fan and all those are just not doing good at all. And I always debate with him because he's not supporting the Flyers anymore this year because they look awful. And I was like, well, you'll watch the Eagles.
Bandwagon jumping off?
Well, so right. I was like, at what point do I support the team through and through, or just keep destroying,
Well, like like the Philadelphia Eagles after they beat the Patriots, they said they were going to be the next dynasty. I guess you only win one, you become a dynasty. I mean, what happened there? But Shannon, so we're going to enter the next phase of our show. It's called Ask Papa Bruin, where the awesome people of Big Bad Bruins Nation ask us questions about fucking anything. I've had someone asked me a question, do you consider a hot dog a sandwich? And that was one of the best questions I've ever had because I think it's like the same thing with cereal. Cereal soup? I don't think cereal soup because it's a breakfast thing, but it is a liquid on a solid. So I don't know. But we're going to go over some questions. You can help me choose the best answer. The best question. Again, I'm just so much in a fucking fog with this vaccine shit. Like Shannon said, she had a great time Easter, got a couple cocktails in her. I unfortunately just got the vaccine cocktail, and that's knocked me on my ass. So here we go.
I have had my first vaccine. I would say they're pretty comparable, a hangover and what it feels like.
Which one did you get?
Moderna.
So you've only had your first?
Yeah.
And you felt kind of shitty after?
Yeah, I felt awful. I felt hungover.
That's exactly. I said to Shannon in the green room prior to that, it was like drinking without the calories and the heartburn. That's exactly what that feeling. But I've read now that if you felt shitty after the first one, you may have had it and didn't know it. Had COVID.
Interesting.
Back in February 2020, when we know it was already here, that I remember having a cough for over a week that was just like nothing I've ever had in my life. It was like,
yeah, my dad was in the hospital and they in January of 2020 and they said, oh, it's like a bad flu and pneumonia, but they didn't have a COVID test then. So I'm like 100% sure he had it and they didn't know what it was.
I have a source, which he'll go nameless, but he works in the transportation industry here in Boston. And he's telling me that they already knew at the airport that this shit was already coming down the pike already back in January. So that kind of scares the fuck out of you that everybody kind of knew, but didn't want to tell the people that. Because I went to Florida at the end of February. I went to Orlando.
So I went to Utah in March. So
we both traveled. So again, I went to Disney World and I was like,
a hotbed.
I was like, yeah, exactly. And I saw probably in the Orlando airport, you know how busy Orlando airport is. I probably saw a dozen people wearing masks. And then I went to Celebration, Florida, near our hotel and got dinner. And right behind us was an Asian person wearing a mask. And I was like, oh, fuck, get away. I was like one of the, like we all were, right? We all like this before. We thought it was really real. And now looking back and like how I must have had it before, because how the fuck could I not have got it when I was down there? Like, how could you not have got it? Like all the people on top of each other, Disney World, all this shit. So I'm convinced I got it before. And thank God it wasn't worse. But Anyway, back to something a lot more fun to talk about. I'm going to share the screen here so everybody can see these crazy questions that we are going to ask. All right. Are you ready, Shannon?
Yes.
Yeah, Walsh, are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go. Some of these names are tough. All right. Jeff, I think he took his last name and just scrambled it for his last name here. He took his first name, Jeffrey, and just scrambled it because I can't see a name, Jeff, and I apologize. Okay. Does Cassie deserve his job next season at this point? All right. You asked too many questions here. Let's pick the best one out of here. Oh, my God, dude. This is like a quiz. If you moved one, who would it be? Oh, all right. I'll do this for Shannon.
That's a good question. This
is for Shannon Walsh of Slapshot Sweethearts on the Belly Up Podcast Network, correct?
Correct.
How many points? No, wait. Okay, here we go. Let's go back again. If you move one, who would it be? Marchand or Pasta? Take it away, Shannon.
I mean, I'm never trading one, but there's pros and cons to both, right? Like Marchand is a leader. He does define the Bruins culture quite a bit. And I think that if they were to move him now, it would do a lot of damage to what they're trying to establish with that young core. But Pastrnak is obviously a generational talent, and you don't want to trade that either. I think part of me says you probably want to move. I don't even know, Marchand, because he's older.
Well, that's the question. That's the answer I did not expect from you. I expected.
I mean, I want to say Pastrnak, but it's so irresponsible. Like, it's just...
Well, speaking of irresponsible, the reason why Pastrnak could be moved because defensively he is irresponsible. He is a shit show.
Yes.
If he doesn't score, he's a liability. He really is. I mean, it's glaring, and I love him as a player because he's goofy and fun as a personality standpoint, and he can score like no other. But yeah, he is. If I had to trade anyone, I think you get more for Pasta. Marchand, I just think you need him from a leadership standpoint, big time. As we know this year, right?
And I think Pastrnak would have more value on the trade market as well.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But I don't think neither of them are going anywhere. Let's be honest. I think anyone, Krejci's going like you said. This is a question that I was talking about before. Why are you having a Flyers fan on to talk about hockey now?
I must have had the jersey on in a past episode.
Yeah. You know what? I owned a Eric Lindros jersey because I loved Eric Lindros back. Doesn't mean... I actually love jerseys and logos and shit and how they look and all that. I used to have like a Orlando Solar Bears. Doesn't necessarily mean I am a diehard Solar Bears fan or whatever. Some people just
I put my boyfriend's Flyers jersey on because it was right after they got blown out by the Rangers, and I was willing them to win throughout our live stream, which they won. But I wanted them to win because they were playing against one of the teams that we need to catch up points from.
So Toby, this is your answer, okay? It's like you see the ladies wearing their the boyfriend or husband's dress shirt. Same thing. So just chill out. It's good. She's a Bruins fan, as you can see, right?
Bruins fan through and through.
And she's dating a guy that she needs to talk to
Has
repeatedly.
Poor sports taste.
Yeah, right. Who decides to change teams like he changes the television channel. But whatever. It's his their own. I don't want him coming up here and trying to beat me up because I can't run because I don't feel well. So Tim Muir. Now we go into music too, and I don't know. We'll ask you. I don't know what kind of music you're into, but maybe we'll find out. What are your thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Iron Maiden, one of my favorite bands, being long overdue, being inducted? So I'll take this and I'll ask you about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and what you like from a music standpoint. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a bunch of bullshit. It's garbage. It's like the Grammys. It's a joke. Let's be quite honest with you. Iron Maiden is probably one of the most influential metal bands in the history of music. And for them to have to wait 16 years, where as much as I love Rage Against the Machine and the Foo Fighters, this is their first year eligibility and they already got nominated. So, which is kind of bullshit to me. So Iron Maiden, number one, don't give a fuck if they get in or not. Number two, it'd be nice if they won't show up. They won't go to this thing. But again, if you are in your 60s and you still sell a good amount of albums and you sell out hundreds of thousands of people in stadiums down in South America and still get a pretty good following up here in Europe, you don't give a shit. So that's my answer to this. So Shannon, I'm going to ask you, what kind of music you're into and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you have any kind of opinion on that?
I listen to pretty much anything. I mean, I don't like EDM and all that crap, but like I listen to a lot of country, listen to a lot of classic rock. I'll listen to like party music if that's my mood, but I am kind of surprised. I know literally nothing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I'm kind of surprised that Iron Maiden's not in it. That's one of those bands that I probably would have just heard their name and assumed.
Right. Oh, of course. I think most people would think that, right? Yeah, it's a political thing, just like the Grammys and shit. I don't watch any of those award shows anymore. I used to watch the MTV Music Awards when they played music on MTV, but I don't watch that shit anymore.
Well, I am not good with movies at all. I get bored in them. But I think Emmys are movies, right? Their nominations just came out, and I was like, I have heard of like one of these. Like, how can it be nominated for an award if the average person hasn't even heard of it?
Well, it's like the Oscars. Like, someone can win for best film, but then no one wins for the movie. Like, no actor or no director. Like, how's that? How can it be the best movie? They didn't have good actors or directors. Like, that makes no sense to me at all. Yeah. All right. Who does the most flopping in the NHL? Well, I would have to say Sidney Crosby's up there, but you mentioned, Shannon, that there are others. Who are other big culprits and floppers?
I mean, Crosby's a good one. Tom Wilson's really been grinding my gears recently on the calls he's getting.
What happened to Tom Wilson? Was it against the Rangers that he lost his fucking mind? Like, what was going on in that game? Did they had to hold him away and all this stuff? Was it against the Rangers?
he picked a fight with. It might have been Lemieux before they moved him.
Oh, I know they moved him to LA. That's too bad because I didn't like that piece of shit anyway, like his dad. Let's see. So flopping, who did you say? I'm sorry. Beside Crosby?
I mean, Tom Wilson's just getting a lot of calls called for him. He's drawing a lot of penalties, which is pissing me off. I don't know if it's necessarily flopping, but obviously he has to do some.
He does a little embellishment, I'm sure. Yeah. So Tom Wilson's garbage. It's too bad because he has talent too. So there's no reason you have to be a complete.
He's the same thing Marchand was 5 years ago, but he's not growing out of it.
Right. Well, here's the thing: is that people still think Marchand's that way, and guess what? He's not. I mean, after what happened with, because I haven't had a podcast in a while. So what happened after Wilson? There was an article written. I forget who it was that against the Devils the next game. I guess Marchand did cross-check someone in the back, and the guy fell. And somebody saying Marchand is the same player as Tom Wilson is. Like, whoa. Battling in the crease and cross-check. Yeah, should he have got a penalty? Absolutely should have got he should get a 2-minute penalty for that. But if you're trying to tell me that blowing up a guy who's taller than you when you actually have to leave the ground to elbow him in the head is the same play and the same kind of caliber of player, you're fucking high. I mean, it's not even the same thing, people like that. I hate when they do that. It's because, the Bruins. Okay, we're going to say Marchand's done this. Just stop,
I mean, Connor McDavid just had that wicked dirty hit, and he didn't get ejected.
Did he get fined or suspended? Nothing?
He got a 5K fine. But then there was the same. I got torched on Twitter for saying this too. There was this like random forward from the Coyotes that had like the same hit, except it was into the boards and not in the middle of the ice. But they were fighting for the puck, so there's like pros and cons to both of them. And I was like, how'd this guy get 3 games suspended? And Connor McDavid gets 5K. And I was like, these hits are so different. And I was like, his elbow, it's the same exact thing. If your elbow is upward towards someone's head, it's the same thing.
His name is Connor McDavid. That's why. That's exactly why. All right, Daniel Cutting. In your opinion, do the Bruins need to clean out the coaching staff and office staff or trade away multiple players to upgrade the team? I'll give you that question first.
Yeah, so again, I keep mistakenly comparing the trade deadline for the Celtics with the trade deadline for the Bruins. I do think that, not that this is a basketball podcast, but I do think that the Celtics need to clear out their front office. But I don't think the severity of the issue is as intense for the Bruins. I do think they need to make a move at the deadline, but I don't think that they necessarily need to be looking at firing anyone. Unless they miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, then it should be revisited.
Heads are going to roll. So the thing about Don Sweeney is, and I've seen this again, and Jimmy Murphy wrote about this, saying that, it's not just the draft, it's about the money they have and Jacobs being cheap. And I go, yeah, that's definitely part of it. But the 2015 draft was a franchise changing draft for the Boston Bruins. If they landed you don't have to hit all 3 of those guys because it's almost impossible. If you hit on one of those or got a Barzal on one of those, this team would be dramatically different.
Yes.
That was a big fight.
I mean, it's a shock that Sweeney didn't get fired after he did that. Like that entire scenario was mind-boggling.
That they didn't even trade out. They tried to get Hannafin, and Hannafin hasn't really been as good as everybody thought he was going to be either. But
he's better than Senshin, though.
He sucks. Well, you know what about him is that they actually said in the scout report that he was a reach then, which exactly what he was. He was a reach. Zabor. Now we'll go over this quickly because it was brought up. But Zaboral showed me flashes. I thought he was going to be something, but he's regressed quite a bit. Dabrowski's MIA and hasn't done shit, at all. And
I mean, I remember watching that draft and I was like, Bruins got 3 first-round picks. Like, we're set, man. And I can vividly remember when they picked Senishin, however you say his name.
Yeah, Sucky.
The analysts were all like, couldn't even speak. They were like, oh.
Who? Right.
They were like, no one had him. I don't even think they had him in the first round.
Nope. Nope. No one had him on the board. Crazy. Jill Asadorian, cool name. Why can't our top stars produce? Are we getting outcoached? We had everyone's number at the beginning of the season. The more we played them, the more they figured us out. That's what you said earlier. Teams adapted us. We just changed the lines and not the actual game plan. Great take on that, by the way. I think I'll answer this quickly myself too, and I'll let you chime in. I think breaking up these lines and keeping them this way for a while is going to help them out because they'll be able to, kind of split up the production. Outcoached. Again, I'm not a big fan of him never using a timeout, but I don't know about outcoached. I mean, I can't say that Granado of the Sabres has outcoached Cassidy, right? What do you think about that, Shannon?
Yeah, I don't think they're getting outcoached. I mean, the Rangers and the Sabres the Rangers have a horrible coaching issue and they're playing great. I don't think that's a problem. I do think that we rely, and I talk about this all the time on Black and Gold Weekly too with John, that our top stars can't produce because we it's not that they're not producing. Brad Marchand's on a point streak.
Yeah.
The issue is that they're the only ones that can consistently produce. So we rely so heavily on Marchand, Bergeron, and Pastrnak. And like we were saying, Bergeron hasn't looked good all season. I don't know why we're still expecting him to, play like a Selke nominee because he's not going to this season.
Yeah, he's not. It's almost like, he's a sacred cow that you can't criticize him. I mean, that's right. I find that bullshit, but
we rely so heavily. We as fans, but the team also relies so heavily on that top line. Well, I guess if they're moving around those top 3 guys, that if one of them doesn't score in the first period, the offense is shot. There's no momentum.
I know. It's true. It's so true. And it's maddening, right? Okay. So Shannon, I don't know how much you have hopped on to any of my Facebook Lives. Right? If you haven't, it's okay. But I don't know if you know who Ryan Richard is. Ryan Richard, who's our last question, which he definitely will not win. He is if you've seen The Dark Knight, the Joker and Batman, and Joker said, I need you. You complete me. Kind of one of those things. He's that to me. Like he's the Joker on Batman. We need each other because I'm a Rask supporter. He is a Rask hater. And then he likes any other goalie. Like, so Halak has not been well. Great. So now he's on the Vladar train. He's one of those people that he's just a troll basically. So why is Sweeney not fired? I think we talked about this already. The biggest question of them all, you should go through all of his free agent signings and draft picks from when he started to right now. He needs to be on the hot seat. Your platform's a good start to make it happen. Because Ryan Richard, because the Bruins give a fuck what I say. Big Bad Bruins Nation. And as much as Shannon does a great job on her podcast, I don't think they really give a shit what she says. If you do, hey, get his credentials. We'll come in the locker room when COVID goes away. Again, Sweeney, I think as Shannon has alluded to, if they miss the playoffs, he's going to definitely be looked at. And I tell you right now, Cam Neely has to too. I mean, he's been here a long time now. I love him as a player, one of my favorite players of all time. So
he's been there for a while.
Now we're going to segue into one of my favorite things. It's called Watcha Drinkin. Okay, so we talk about what you've been drinking, and considering you've been drinking just recently, please tell me, like, if I don't know, wine, a beverage, any alcoholic beverage that you think is like the shit now. That's it's your thing.
I mean, I primarily drink, which typically I do not drink on weekdays unless we're live streaming, which is why I am hungover on a weekday. However, I typically drink whiskey or red wine. Or gin and tonics. That's pretty much that. Those are my go-tos. But we usually we get like craft whiskey at the like local market.
Feel free to plug your favorite. Feel free. Maybe they'll hear you.
There's a distillery in Baltimore, called Sagamore Spirit that's like being distributed wider as of late. That's really good. So like it there. There's one from Park City in Utah called High West that's right on the mountain. That's really good.
Right.
But I mean, whiskey's whiskey.
Yeah,
so.
I've never been a whiskey fan. I'm a rum guy. I'm definitely a rum because I'm more of a sweet kind of alcohol guy. But I'm definitely a rum guy. I can't wait to start drinking more of that in the summertime. Thank God we're getting closer. But my thing is craft beer. I haven't been feeling great, not even with the fucking vaccine right now, but prior to, so I have been kind of slow my drinking consumption. I have a shit ton of Treehouse I have to get into. I have Barnstable Brewery. I got my fridge is getting like overloaded, which is not a bad thing to have. But one of my favorite, probably unsung hero breweries is Spyglass Brewery up in Nashua, New Hampshire. Some awesome local brew. I just picked up some the other day, went in there. They opened their tap room up finally, again, because of what happened, with COVID and all that. But definitely check out Spyglass Brewery out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Really cool place and really awesome beer. So thank you for telling us about your favorite beverages. But so Shannon Walsh, I want to thank you. I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to share your Twitter so we can see it, so you can plug it. And I'm going to do this and that and this. So Shannon, tell me where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been fun. So this is my Twitter page. It's at Swalshy63. But honestly, I don't care if you follow me. Follow my podcast. Check out it's Sweethearts Pod. But if you just search Slapshot Sweethearts on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that, go check it out. I am becoming addicted to Twitter because I'm on
Twitter's awesome. I love Twitter.
On our page so often. So we're pretty entertaining on there. So check it out.
I've been on some of the live streaming they do during games. It was great. And all the people you've had on, I know you had a guy from the Flyers, a guy who is a Columbus Jacket and Chicago Blackhawks fan. I think he is. Really cool cat too. So I hope I can get on to another one with you guys.
We actually recorded with Dale Arnold. That was our second episode ever. So I just
follow her. She's got Duguay, Dubinsky. I mean, you got some heavy hitters there. So I want to thank you so much for joining us on this one. Hopefully we can, like I said, collaborate on another one soon on your side of the fence or mine. But I really appreciate it, Shannon. You have a good day now, and we'll talk soon. All right?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Be safe. We'll see you. Everybody, we want to thank you for joining the Big Bad Bruins Bantah podcast number 10 with Shannon Walsh of Slapshot Sweethearts. I like saying Sweethearts. And make sure you follow me on the Twitter machine at Big Bad Bruins 88, also on Instagram at Big Bad Bruins Nation, YouTube Big Bad Bruins Nation, and of course on Facebook Big Bad Bruins Nation. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to even say who won the question for the t-shirt. I think it was Jill with her good question about the players and the coaches and things like that. So Jill, you won the t-shirt. So I'm sorry. I always do that. I always forget at the end, but I don't edit this shit. So that's how it is. But anyway, enjoy your shirt, Jill. I'll be in touch. Shannon, again, be safe, and we'll talk soon, and go Bees.
Awesome. Thank you.